Hello everyone, my name is Evan and I like to make stop-motion dinosaurs and monsters. And now that Kaiju Biollante is done, it's time to rebirth some Jurassic World fun. So one could say the Mutant D-Rex is now on the way. On this mutant dinosaur project today, we'll be making this monstrosity skeleton, I say. And as I create this movie monster today, we'll be splicing away at the DNA of some Jurassic World lore, I do say. So I'm sure many of you are already aware, the first trailer for Jurassic World Rebirth has recently come out. And we got one look at one seriously messed up looking monster that seems to be stomping around in the new movie. And there's actually a lot of different ways this monstrosity could tie into the film's plot. And there's also a lot of very old Jurassic Park material that I'm pretty sure they took some inspiration from. And personally, I think showing this thing off in the first trailer might have not been the best idea. With that being said, I'll probably do a video in the future where I will review and go over the trailer in more depth. Now, with this video, I just want to go into the details surrounding this monster that people seem to be dubbing the D-Rex, which borderline sounds inappropriate. I will also be talking about some theories on what this all could exactly mean for the upcoming Jurassic World Rebirth movie. So one of the things that makes this new creature so creepy and weird, and I think a lot of that has to do with its, well, overall design. The face is extremely eerie and disproportional compared to any other weird clone that we have seen so far. And it looked like it started life off with a Tyrannosaurus skull that kind of became smushed like a bulldog or a pug. Rest in peace, Foo. The mouth has a bunch of small, very jagged teeth. That means it's got to be eating something or someone on the island because it's clearly carnivorous. And I could imagine something like a Parasaurolophus or some other herbivore happens to stumble across this monster. This mutant animal would most likely just grab it with its massive arms and start attacking it immediately because I honestly don't see this thing being very fast. For example, I don't think it could necessarily charge down and hunt prey like a Tyrannosaur could. One thing that I definitely think we should take note of is that we only see this monster at night in the trailer, so that means it could possibly be nocturnal. And that could be a good strategy on how it catches its prey, because I'm pretty confident if this thing went up against a normal T-Rex, I'm not so sure it would win in any fight. It looks more like a freak of nature from Chernobyl than necessarily a well-adapted dinosaur like we have seen in the past. With that being said, those arms do look fairly formidable. Oh, and by the way, the D-Rex looks like it may have 6 limbs, which I will make later on in the video, because in the trailer you can vaguely see some weird-looking Tyrannosaurus arms at the front, but it actually looks like it uses its front legs, or arms, whatever you want to categorize those massive limbs as, to help support its own body weight. Now, these gorilla-looking arms actually look like they were supposed to be feet for the animal originally, but something along the way got expecting them into this newer film. So if this place is Site C, that means this place is literally just a weird base of operations for failed experiments, and it's kind of where they do prototypes of the dinosaurs before sending the information to Isla Sorna so they can make official finalized versions of the dinosaurs. I have seen some theories about that idea after people have seen the trailer. Now, my personal other theory is that, well, no. This is just the original location they started making the animals. But sometime in the past, maybe a long time ago, the D-Rex broke out and killed a bunch of people, which caused them to abandon the facility and move everything over to Site B. But in order for that to work, I think you need to convince the audience that this is something that's not just adding new layers of complexity to the lore. And I also think it's kind of unnecessary to continue to create new islands before we start getting through basically all the numbers of the alphabet. Let's just really think about that for a minute before we fully commit to it, because at that point it's just never going to exactly end. Oh, and by the way, as far as what this creature is, I think the D-Rex is just supposed to be a Tyrannosaurus. I know some people are saying it's a human dinosaur hybrid, or even maybe a basic hybrid dinosaur like the Indominus Rex, but I don't think I'm quite convinced just yet. One theory that I personally really like, that this is the mosquito DNA from the amber getting accidentally spliced together with the Tyrannosaurus blood, and due to the fact that it has 6 limbs, that would truly be an odd concept that I'd be willing to buy into. But unfortunately, I think this is kinda just supposed to be a very messed up Tyrannosaur that Hammond abandoned on the island after it killed a bunch of scientists. Now, if that's not what happened, maybe this is a brand new island that InGen has recuperated and started cloning new stuff again. And then the D-Rex got out like 5 years ago and just started killing everybody. That is probably the most believable scenario, unfortunately. Now, if you take a close look at the embryonic lab, there's a bunch of messed up stuff in glass tanks. There's a velociraptor with 2 heads, for example, and some of the little dinosaur creatures are all messed up and imperfected, which again could mean that it's just an old InGen Jurassic Park facility. It does tie into things like from Jurassic Park 3, because we saw similar embryonic specimens briefly in that movie as well. Of course, this also could be a test run for the Indominus Rex like some people think, but something tells me they just want to move away from all the stuff in Jurassic World. So obviously I don't really know at this point, and we'll probably have to wait till the movie comes out for more, and or a second trailer. Now, the Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3 is radically different than the one we see in this trailer. So if they're trying to imply that Dr. Wu made that animal in JP3 and the others in Jurassic Park more akin to what Jurassic Park visitors would like after having genuinely made accurate clones at the beginning, that would be very interesting and is something that actually Michael Crichton talked about in the novel. But then again, I really wonder how this other facility ties into the other movies, because right now I'm not sure if I entirely believe this place existed before the Lost World's Isla Sorna, but maybe there is a bit more to the story, because there is some theories floating around that this island could have been just Site B from the Lost World, but I think they changed that for some odd reason, and unfortunately that is probably what most likely happened, because one of the ideas they had for Jurassic Park 2 originally was for the ending of that movie to have the camouflaging dinosaurs from Michael Crichton's book, or a weird mutant freak that Steven Spielberg said was more monster and xenomorph-like from Alien than a dinosaur. This animal was called the Superraptor, and it was cut from the film before being replaced with pteranodons attacking the worker village, then finally swapping that out with the T-Rex going to San Diego. So yeah, I think David Kapp is digging way back into the files of Jurassic Park and World to make this new monster a reality. But what does that mean for the people on the island, and how these creatures have been surviving so long? And in all honesty, I don't really have a good answer for that question. Now, we do know that the lysine contingency never really worked, but well, wherever this takes place in the timeline, all we know is that the D-Rex killed some scientists, then got out on the island and has been surviving for some long time. Now, I do think the creature is mainly going to be seen at night, and I know this may sound morbid, but hopefully it actually attacks some people. Because if I'm to be honest, I'm kinda tired of the whole dinosaurs not attacking people thing, which is particularly bad in the Jurassic World movies. For example, in the last film, the Giganotosaurus, all it did was eat a dead deer. That's it. I mean, if you're gonna build up a giant mutant monstrous animal, you gotta have it attack people. I mean, right? I hope. So there is definitely a lot of potential here, and I'll admit, I do kind of have mixed feelings about the D-Rex, but it is slightly growing on me at this point. Which, in all honesty, is one of the things that made me sort of conflicted about the whole trailer, because visually, everything looked really cool, and then the D-Rex is just kind of a, well, I don't know about you, not a huge fan of the whole hybrid mutant thing, but we'll see how this pulls off. Cause I'll admit, it is a far better concept than the Doomsday Rex, which yes, was a real concept. It was a two-headed T-Rex from a abandoned Lost World animated series. Like I said before, I have a feeling they're really digging back into the archives for this movie. Now, I'll admit, as soon as the trailer came out, I started immediately to check to see what other people thought of the monster. I was kind of surprised to see how many movie YouTubers I usually get info on really actually enjoy it and quite like the thing. I mean, they loved it. I mean, I do kind of get it. Now, I'll admit, I was expecting something a little less weird than what they actually decided to go with. My biggest concern with the trailer overall, though, the way it was more proudly showing off the basic jokes, that just seemed a bit too modern-day 2010s Hollywood. That definitely made me temper my expectations a lot. I don't think it'll be worse than Jurassic World Dominion or nearly as much of a mess as Jurassic Park 3. Either way, I'm really looking forward to perhaps squeezing out some more dinosaur content before, well, Jurassic World Rebirth comes out. Now, this movie has a lot resting on its shoulders, but hopefully it will be a home run. But this D-Rex monster is definitely the most controversial thing in the trailer. And I know for a fact it is something that is gathering a lot of attention. It most certainly caught my eye, but let me know what you think of the D-Rex in the comment section below. What are your thoughts and opinions on how it will be represented in the Jurassic World Rebirth movie? And what do you think about the movie in general? Is this going to tie in well with the Lost World Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3? And if not, I'd like to know why. Is it a yay or nay? But if you enjoyed this video today, be sure to smash that like button as hard as a dinosaur, as I like to say, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new, because there's a lot more dinosaur content coming for you. And be sure to share this video with your dinosaur and monster-loving friends, so they can learn more about this mutant D-Rex as well, and we can grow this claymation community. Anyway, it's time for the build rundown on the Jurassic World Rebirth D-Rex skeleton. So the first order of business today was getting that base frame done, which required a large aluminum wire for both the neck, torso, and tail. Then I used some tin foil to basically help us save on oven-baked clay, which happens to be what the bones are made out of, you could say. But there was also some extra aluminum wire used along the way, just for a bit of extra support on those limbs, you could say. Basically, over the years of, well, creating these monsters and dinosaurs, I've learned that adding a little bit more aluminum wire between the joints makes a big difference in your overall doll's strength and capability to move around. Basically, over time, unfortunately, those oven-baked bones will kind of start crumbling, mainly because of the pinch point of the joint, so I find adding an extra piece of aluminum wire in with the bones makes a big difference. Basically, the joint will only bend there, not at, well, the leg where you don't want it to bend, obviously. Then once all the limbs were made, I used a little bit of plasticine clay to help them stay. Then we moved on to the skull fabrication, you could say, where it was mostly just oven-baked clay and painting today. But there's a lot more work on the way, so stay tuned for part 2 where we'll be adding the first layer of plasticine clay, I do say.
Thanks for sticking around to the very end of the video. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if any. And that's it from me. Till next time, take it easy.